Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Couple games postponed this weekend, but not the one between the Pies and the Giants. Plenty to digest tonight. We're officially less than 5 days away from this bloody season getting underway, and I'm starting to sound like a broken record with everything that's been happening in this off-season / pre-season. However, on the agenda, there is plenty to talk about tonight. We got Crisp going into his 250th milestone game. We've got an experienced veteran who is going to be having a kid leading into the game. So between today and Sunday, old mate will be having a baby with his partner. Matt Rowell to Collingwood is going to be something that we will discuss because it keeps coming up in mainstream media. Team news availability has dropped, and we will also do an opening round selection / prediction. You guys sent a bunch of fan entries on Instagram, what we want from this game. So I'll be sharing pretty much all of them. If you sent it to me before 5 p.m., then you will be mentioned and we'll discuss. And we'll talk about paths to victory for Collingwood. We'll talk about some stats that are glaring. They work against us. Could they work for us? And tips, because we have a tipping comp, which we'll plug that now. So we will do that. So if you want to join the Pies tipping comp, Pies Footy tipping comp, the link is in the description. It's $300 prize for first place. First to best. What do they say? If you're not first, you're last. So there's no runners up. There's no third. There's no fourth. If you finish first, you win $300. No entry fee. Get into that link as soon as possible. And let's get into our first, I suppose, segment. And let's talk about the injury update provided by Collingwood today. As early as it was earlier today. So, as far as availability is considered, Braden Maynard, after experiencing some soreness following the match sim against Gold Coast. So, this was interesting to hear that Brazzy experienced soreness in his foot, most likely, from the match simulation against Gold Coast. Yet, it was a 50-minute game. And I would imagine he would have had some sort of rotations through that as well. So to be pulling up sore from effectively less than a half of footy is concerning. So let's keep a tab on Brazzy. I'm not sold, and I don't think anyone believes that this is something that's just going to be here and now gone. It's going to be something that's going to be lingering. It's going to be ongoing. It's going to be managed with. I'm just hoping it doesn't get to a point similar to Tom Mitchell, where he needs to operate on his plantar fascia. That's right. That's, I think, where the injury resides in his foot at the moment. But he resumed full training this week and is available for opening round. And he'll be critical for that matchup against Toby Green. I'd like to know how has Toby Green gone against Collingwood? Is it time we see someone else other than Braden Maynard play on Toby Green? That's what I'm asking. Can we get a full serving of entree, dinner, dessert of Isaac Quaynor on Toby Green on the weekend? Let's have a look. I'm just pulling it up. So if we view match stats and we go team being opposition, Collingwood. Here we go. So go to goals. All right, here we go. Kicked 5 in 2021, kicked 1 in 22, 2 in 23, 1 in 24. So I suppose he hasn't torn apart Collingwood properly since 2021, 5 goals, 3 goals before that. Some coaches' votes. He's had 3 games in 2019, 2020, 2021 where he almost polled maximum coaches' votes against Collingwood in that period alone. But that's the gist on Brazzy, okay? But I wouldn't mind seeing someone like Isaac Quaynor get a fair run on Toby as well. Joel Cochran is still managing that knock to his ribs. He's also been unwell over the course of the last few days. Therefore, will miss any VFL practice matches that we see this weekend. Coxie trained today nursing his fractured hand, I saw. He was just doing ruck contest, uncontested ruck contest in free flow match play and was just protecting one hand. So he's still got a bit to go regarding that finger fracture. So we'll see. Jordan Ngo is a big one. He's not going to be available for opening round. The setback is said to be his knee from the knee bruising. He's completed a bunch of essentially a full block of training in the last 3-4 weeks since that knock to his knee. I'm not sure, once again, if it's blurred lines. Like, is it just we're not confident that the Goey's hip and groin is ready? We want an extra 2-3 weeks before we put him out onto the park. I'm okay with that. If our injury list was a bit more longer than what it is right now, it'd be a different conversation. But I think we can afford not having Jordan Ngowi in the side right now. So just a quick g'day. Who we got? Jack. There's baby. Let's go Pies. Kind of Pies. Good, mate. I'm good. I'm ready for things to get rolling already. I want to see the first bounce. Chris to play more matches than Pendles, maybe based off his comments. Yeah, plantar fasciitis. I suppose it's just a common injury. Q goes to Daniels, wouldn't he? Too fast and agile for Maynard. Yeah, that's it. I suppose these are the things we need to consider. Lockie, how you going, mate? I hope you're well. Hope you're well. Wade said they want Jordy to be ready to play the whole season, not just a couple of games. Yeah, makes sense. Especially, once again, because we don't have a great deal of injuries at the moment. We can compensate for the Goey not being there at the start of the year. Totally fine. Totally for Q. Okay, so Q goes to Daniels. Wouldn't he? Too fast and agile for Maynard. I feel like they've got a handful of smalls that are going to be difficult to match up with. Goodness. We'll have a look at that. We'll definitely have a look at that. I think tomorrow when we get the extended teams, Rocker by baby, I like the pun. When we get the extended teams for both sides, we can have a look at how the matchups will actually look, because that's going to be something worth sort of diving into. Tom Mitchell has returned to full training 2 weeks ago with the focus building his loads and conditioning, and his timeline is to be determined. Ilaru still recovering. Oscar Steen fractured his finger during training last week. The ruck will be limited during the early rounds of the season as he spends 3 weeks in a splint and contact training. So no Ilaru, no Oscar Steen, no Mason Cox, which means in the VFL, you're probably going to see, I think it's Boston Dowling, who played in that second game against Gold Coast. So he's a youngster who came from the Chargers. So it'd be a good opportunity for Boston to get a bunch of time in the ruck. I don't think there's anybody else. So, and obviously Harvey Harrison is another player who is still on a to be determined timeline when it comes to return to play. But once again, he's someone you just don't rush, right? Let's wait. All right, yeah. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull up my predicted opening round lineup using Zero Hanger. So we'll do this together to a certain extent, right? Let me set this up. Zero Hanger. Games. Pick your team. Here we go. We had no rucks for like 5 straight games at the start of 23. It went all right. Was that when... That was when Billy Frampton played in the ruck. Peter G says, Dowling is a beauty. He could play as a number 1 ruck in our VFL side. He could. He could, in the sense that, well, Steen and Smith aren't available, but I think as long as Steen and Smith are available, I'm not too sure if Dowling will play much VFL. Maybe he'll play for his local side, wherever he's signed up to there. Do you know more about Boston Dowling, Peter, that we're not aware of? I'd be intrigued to hear your thoughts. So, opening round lineup, share screen, share window, this one. Yep. Okay. So we'll zoom this in. This one. Okay. That's going to have to do, right? How's that? All right. So, opening round, no Dan Houston's the obvious one. So let's start with Darcy Moore at fullback. Right. Geez, a lot of M's. Goodness gracious. Back pocket, we can just say Jeremy Howe. Then what else do we have? Charlie Dean will play VFL. Late again. Hey, Chris, how you going? We're just doing the opening round prediction, trying to figure out what our side looks like. Darcy was Reef McInnes. We'll put old mate Reefy here. We'll go Josh Dacos there. I think, look, you if you want to play the long game, you go someone like Jacob Ryan. But realistically, if we know a little thing or two about Fly, Craig McRae, I forget his name. He's going to go Oleg Markov, let's be honest, right? Okay. And then Brazzy Maynard will go in this pocket here. There you go. That's the expectation of how our, I suppose, back six will start up. Lipinski has pretty much locked down a wing position, as to Jack Crisp sort of owns that now. Perryman will be an obvious one to occupy the center against his old side, which will be exciting as well, won't it? Half forward flank, well, you've got Lockie Schultz who will play high. You've got, where is he? Bo McCreary. He will play high. Say, what are we saying? We're saying Myercheck, McStay, or Membry Sanaa full. Not that it matters too much. I'm going to say Tim Membry. Full forward, say, we can give it to Myercheck. Forward pocket. I mean, once again, it doesn't really matter. These blokes are going to rotate through these positions here. McStay there. Forward pocket. Bobby Hill. Okay. The obvious one straight away there is Darcy Cameron. Say a Pendlebury. Say a certain Nick Dacos, right? Interchange. Jamie Elliott. I think it has to be still side bottom. It has to be Isaac Quaynor. And I think this last spot, okay. Is there a sub? They haven't given us a sub, have they? They haven't. So I think this will be Hoskin Elliott, and I think the sub will be Ed Allen. That's what that looks like. So Darcy Moore, Jeremy Howe, Brazzy, Markov, McInnes, Dacos, Lipinski, Perryman, Jack Crisp, Lockie Schultz, Tim Membry, Bo McCreary, Bobby Hill, Dan McStay, Myercheck, DC, Pendles, and Dacos in the middle. Interchange being Q, Jamie Elliott, side bottom, Hoskin Elliott, and the sub will be Ed Allen. Okay. So that's what I think that is. That's how we're going to. I think pretty much any one of us could have done that and basically picked that side. We're lagging a little bit. Let me just close a couple tabs here. Give me 1 second. Don't want us to be lagging through this, do we? Close that as well. That should do us a little bit better. There we go. Okay. Let's go into some of the fan entries today. So I said, what are you looking forward to on Instagram? What do you want from this game? What do you want to see? Cody Faulkner says our forward line, midfield's explosive movement. Well, Nick Dacos is certainly explosive. He's going to have a little running partner with him, and that will be Toby Bedford, most likely. Did a job on Patrick Cripps to a certain extent and has done some jobs on some other great midfielders late last year as well. Did Toby Bedford. Our forward line's explosive movement, well, that definitely pertains to the likes of Bobby Hill, Jamie Elliott, Bo McCreary, Lockie Schultz. I was a little bit disappointed with Lockie Schultz and Bo McCreary's ball use against Richmond. Call me harsh. I'm just, I suppose, being hypercritical. I think we know what they bring on the pressure front. It's second to none. But we saw some good moments in preseason training where they were able to use the ball really well by foot. I just want to see that translated to AFL level. That tells me it just comes down to a little bit of composure. Once that composure comes, maybe they become, serious players. So they're there to do the dog work, but I have more of a higher standard for them. I think they can do a little bit more. I really do. Christian Zakrafos is looking forward to McStay kicking a bag, aren't we all? Black and White United, Andreas, I want to see our forward line tackle and lock the ball inside 50 at every opportunity. So this is a good one. Collingwood are a great inside 50 tackling side. I think we were number 1 or 2 or somewhere in the top 4 for that domain. Top 4 for tackles in general. And when you bring in players like Lockie Schultz, and when you already have players like Bo McCreary and Jamie Elliott and Bobby Hill, these players are going to, keep that ball retention inside 50. The other thing that is good to note is our forward half scores improved last year, and it was probably off the back of the pressure we're able to apply in our forward half while our back half took a hit. Wallet fam, my man, obviously the new recruits functioning in their new system is a prospect most tantalizing. They're going to fit in seamlessly, really. It already seems like that. Tim Membry doing his thing in the forward line. Then you have Harry Perryman, who's going to be that defensive anchor in the midfield, and he's also going to get some of his own going forward as well. What can you expect from Perryman from a numbers element this year? Maybe like a triple-double, like a basketball triple-double. Maybe 20 disposals. You're looking at like 10 tackles. Maybe a double-double, not a triple-double. That would be absurd. But yeah, 20 disposals, 10 contested possessions, and 10 tackles a game would be huge, wouldn't it? Woody, who does Perryman snipe on his old team? You'd love it. You'd love him to go through Toby Green at some point, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? Tony, you're still a bit worried about the back line. We all are, trust me. With Energy Stadium apparently looking more like a cow's paddock after the Green Day concert, and with 20 millimeters of rain expecting to fall on it over the weekend, do we still go? Yeah, I think we're probably married to that 3 tall forward setup at this point. We've run with it this whole preseason. Could it look different in the next 4 to 8 weeks potentially? But I think we're committed to this right now. I'd be very surprised. Well, if we don't go that 3 tall forward setup, then that must mean Tim Membry doesn't play. And just given the preseason he's had, is I don't think he's going to miss. Brandon, hey Anthony, random question: is there a Pies Footy Supercoach league? There is a tipping league. I'll just share the link now. I'll work on the Supercoach one shortly, but that is the link for the tipping league. It's a $300 prize. Winner takes all, no entry fee. All right. More fan. Big Clokey says Checkers to kick 7. What a man! What is Brody Myercheck's most goals in a game? Would it be 6? Was it against the Port Adelaide? Let's have a look. Maybe he'll save that for Port Adelaide if that's the case. View match stats. How many is he? What's the most old mate Checkers has kicked? Goals. He kicked 5 against Geelong and 5 against Sydney in 2023. So, how's he gone against GWS? Let's have a look. Does he like playing against GWS? Let's see. Goals. 2, 5. Here we go. He hasn't kicked a bunch. 2024 he kicked 3 in that losing opening round against GWS. So hopefully maybe we can see 3 or more from Checkers on the weekend. I think you have a big job to do on Sam Taylor as well, who's just an intercepting god in this league. Beasley, Benny from NZ, can Fly adapt if the boys are down by a lot? Think that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I think what's more important is when we're up and the game is getting on, do we slow down or do we keep going? I think that's more of a psychological twist, adaptation, where even Pendlebury mentioned it at a certain point last year. He said, we're going to, moving forward in the very near future, we're going to look at the idea of when you are up by 4 or 5 goals, trying to play the same way, because inherently, naturally, when you're up by 4 or 5 goals and there's a quarter and a half left, you're going to try to set up shop. And that might not be the indications being made by the team or the strategies that are being put forward, but just naturally you become a little bit more passive in the way you attack further up the ground. You know, if 1 in every 3 decisions are a bit more passive than what they would be if you were down, then that's going to slow down the game and could potentially hurt you on the rebound. So I think that's something the team and Pendles are going to focus on. Triple M's is going to be, we're all looking forward to them, mate. We all are. 100% Pascal, 1985. More clutch time, Jamie Elliott goals would be great. Black White Heart with no Hogan, Stringer, or Ricard. I think Riccardi's playing, isn't he? I want to see our back 6 dominate this match. 100% though. I want to see Darcy. I want to see Q. I want to see Reef build confidence in his new position. This is a really strong focal point that we'll be keeping an eye on going into opening round. Wade, more than anything, winning, and Matthew Rostovsky, Triple M, the big M. So that's what we're hoping for at this point. 5. Yep. Okay. All right. So there was an article that I wanted to bring up. Oh, let's talk about Matt Rowell. So there's conversations about Matt Rowell and Collingwood and the possibility of getting access to our 2026 first round pick. Whereas at this point in time, we aren't able to trade that right now because we need to use 2 first round picks every 4 years. However, there are exceptions being made or have been made in the past. One notably being with Port Adelaide when they got Jason Horne-Francis. They were able to work around that as a loophole with the AFL. This one's a bit more of a stretch with Matt Rowell, seeing he's a very well-established player and was a former, what was he, number 1 or top 5 anyways in his respective draft, 2020 or 2019 it was. So looking at our squad now with Perryman being 27 going 28, Matt Rowell does fix that big problem, and that's hardball gets. And that's something Collingwood have struggled with dearly, particularly last year. Let's have a look. With Matt Rowell, hardball gets. He had 1, 2, 3. He was 6th in hardball gets last year, and his contested possession rate is absurd. Like he averages 60% of his possessions come from by way of a contested ball, essentially. So it does fix that problem. However, we'll know this year or throughout the course of this year whether Matt Rowell can add a little bit of an outside game. That is the biggest knock on his game. Are we willing to trade up more first round picks given how far in we've gone now. I just don't feel entirely comfortable about it. Let's go, champ. Shama, here we are. So, but there was news today that the Gold Coast boss, Wayne Campbell, says they're confident Matt Rowell will turn his back on Victorian interest and re-sign with the Suns. As things stand, the 23-year-old comes out of contract at the end of the season, and reports revealed that the Sun met with Collingwood, Essendon, Geelong, and Western Bulldogs last off season as he weighs up his future. So clearly there is official interest from Collingwood in Matt Rowell. While the Melbourne-based clubs will hope Rowell wants to return home, the star midfielder himself responded yes when asked whether he'd be playing for Gold Coast in 2026 when asked on Triple M. I mean, he's obviously going to say that, but his actions don't indicate that that is 100% going to be the case. If he's having coffees with these other teams, right? Campbell says he hopes it's a definite yes. But yeah, it's just what else is he going to say to the general media? So I don't know. Do you guys entertain the idea of having someone like Matt Rowell come to our club? Given what we have at the moment, we do struggle in the domain that Matt Rowell excels in. Would I touch Jamari Ugle-Hagan? Probably not. Definitely not right now. I'm sure he's young and he's got things to learn, and that's just the way it is sometimes. But while he's working on those things, I wouldn't punt on him, especially given what you'd probably have to give up for the man to get him in your side. I just don't know if he's worth investing in right now. But hopefully he gets his shit sorted out off field. Stephanos, how are you? Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. What else do we have for you? So we know Jesse Hogan's not playing. We know Jake Stringer's not playing. Tom Green's not playing. Players that are in the mix for GWS are players like Harry Ralston. Connor Stone is someone who was of interest late in the trade period, where he had a really good VFL season and is quite versatile. Wasn't necessarily a key size defender, but I'm sure there was interest in Connor Stone from Collingwood at a certain point in that trade period. And he looked really good against Carlton on the weekend. Watching that game, he's really fast, versatile. And there you go, Peter. I'll probably agree that you'd prefer LDU over Rowell. I think LDU as well, just because of his inside and outside game. I think it's a good balance. Callum Brown may also be borderline not playing. So Callum Brown, I don't even know. He didn't play the second half of last year. He was out of favor, certainly. So I think going into this offseason, if we want to bolster our medium forward department, then Callum Brown is certainly someone we should look into, because when he plays against us, he plays well. I think he's just out of favor. He's got Brent Daniels there. You've got Jake Stringer, Aaron Cadman, McCarty, Hogan. Then you got Harvey Thomas, Darcy Jones. There's just no room for him, really, unfortunately. But he really looked like he was going to take off last year when he kicked, 4 goals or 5 goals against us. He was looking the part. He really was. What else? Let's see. But there is one on Jack Crisp. Hold on. Where are you, mate? Okay. So, Jack Crisp today, the AFL's most durable player, Jack Crisp, believes he could play until he's 40. So, he's playing his 250th game on the weekend. And then not long after, he has the record-breaking game in 6 rounds. I'm not too sure who that would be. But he's come out and, tongue in cheek, he's like, well, if my body can hold up the way it's going right now, then he could play till he's 40, which is, certainly would be. Look, if Pendles is defying odds right now and he's doing what he's doing, Jack Crisp has got someone he can look up to if he wants to get that far. we'll see how it all goes. We really will. We'll see. But for him to reach his that consecutive game streak, I think it's held by Jim Steins, isn't it? Please tell me I got that right. Is it Jim Steins? Yeah, it is Jim Steins. So he's at 238 right now. The record is 244. So in about 7 odd games, he will break that record. It's funny to think that he was almost going to be dropped early last year. I remember for that Brisbane game, he was actually draft or came on as a sub. But then that sort of returned his season around. Crisp did what he started poorly. In my eyes, he wasn't sticking tackles. He was a little bit fumbly. Wasn't willing to pick up the hard ball off the ground. Comes on against Brisbane, plays very well. And then from there, while we had a bunch of injuries to that middle patch of the season, he was outstanding. Coaches votes in multiple games, kicking goals. But yeah, I suppose that's sort of it. I feel like, I don't know about you guys, I feel like we're sort of just dragging our feet towards the first bounce as far as like the outside looking in when it comes to content and just the general media. Like I feel like we're sort of rinsing and repeating what's happening right now. And all I want right now is to close my eyes, wake up, and it's Sunday, and then we're in a cycle. You have the game, you have the post-game presser, you have the injuries, you have the fallout, the drama, then you have, it's sort of just all becomes sequential, and it's all this hearsay and what ifs can be gone to a certain extent, right? That's how I feel right now. Pommy, how you going? What are you animals up to? Hope you're all well. You got your show at 8, mate. That's a song. I'm on the outside. I'm looking and I can see through you, the real you. There he is. You've got a show in about half an hour, don't you? The Kickback Show. Pommy and Oz. The man. I'll have that on simultaneously while I'm watching the NBL semifinals. Melbourne United versus... Is it Melbourne United versus... Melbourne United versus... Come on, Cass. Illawarra? No. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares for NBL here. Oh, God, guys, my head's gone. It's gone. What are some of our predictions for this year? Let's continue with these what ifs for a little bit longer. You know, who's going to be? I'd rather get a prostate exam from Edwards. I need it. You know, whenever Pommy jumps into the chat, guys, I have to turn my comment section off, like look away from it, because some of the things he says just, it cracks me up. All right. Leading goal kicker for Collingwood will be Dan McStay. I've got him for 40 goals plus. Most improved will be, look, my heart says I want it to be Reef McInnes, because then that sort of fills the void in the back line. But I think most improved, goodness, I actually have put no thought towards this one. I'd like to see... I mean, Patrick Lipinski is kind of a left field one. Lockie Schultz, can those kind of players win a most improved award? I think our B and F will be... I think our best and fairest will be Harry Perryman. I think just the way he goes about his game has just got best and fairest written all over. I think the Brownlow medalist will be Nick Dacos. The AFL Players Association Award will probably be Nick Dacos. Most goal assists, I'll probably go with... I think Dan McStay has the potential to be a goal assist and a goal scoring machine this year. I know Bobby Hill was that guy last year, but I think Bobby Hill needs to be a bit more selfish this year. I think Dan McStay is going to be a giving man. I think Tom Hawkins, think Taylor Walker, these type of forwards who just they have an eye for giving the ball off for a direct goal assist. So there's your goal assists. There's your AFLPA. There's your Brownlow. There's your most improved. There's your best and fairest. Clubman Award, the Darren Mullane one, probably would go to someone like Bruzzy or maybe even Quaynor this year is someone that I have in mind. That's something that excites me. There you go. Southeast Melbourne versus Illawarra Hawks. There you go, Peter. Thanks, mate. Schultz, most improved. I mean, we'd love to see Ed Allen be most improved as well. Once again, that would be huge for Finn to be most improved. With that shoulder injury, he's now coming from a long way back. I'd like to see Harvey Harrison make it to the 2025 AFL mid-season point. He's probably going to come in around that time. So, he's probably going to have to bide his time in the VFL as well with how our wing stocks are looking right now, of course. Houston, Nakos, Perriman, and Jacos for top 4 Copeland. Love that. Membry will be the leading goal kicker, in my opinion, if he can stay on the park. I don't know if I can buy that. All the young lads show their potential, and that's something we'll see. Hey, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm looking forward to the VFL this year. We'll do watch-alongs. I'll go to the game. We'll probably cover it in the show a lot more. Pommy, you covered the Carlton VFL side last year a lot, and you've probably done that many times before or in years gone by. Have there been years where you're like, we've got a bunch of lads we can look forward to watching in the VFL, and that somewhat gets you a little bit more excited than the AFL? I'm intrigued because last year I didn't take great interest in the VFL. I'm not sure what the rest of you guys think in the chat, but I didn't take great interest in VFL because we just didn't have much of a squad going out there. Whereas now we have, like you mentioned, TJ, we've got Demetia, we've got Will Hayes, we've got Charlie West, we've got Joel Cochran, we've got all these VFL listed players who've been playing well in pre-season against Gold Coast Brisbane. You got Curtis Taylor, you got Josh Brown, you got Josh Bennett, you got Mahoney's, you got the Markovskis, you got a bunch of players that you can look forward to. Steen, Illaru Smith. Like, why wouldn't you want to have interest in the VFL? I did, sir. Honestly, never low. I'm too judgmental. If you're blowing easy kicks under VFL pressure, it screams bad times. Yeah. There you go. I want to see young guns like Alan Parker, Ryan, and TJ take big steps this year. Most were playing AFL last year because of injury. There you go. Lockie Sullivan, Ned Long, Jack Bytel, Finlay McRae, Ash Johnson, Nathan Kruger. These players, probably more VFL would feature in the VFL more weeks than the rest. This year, we're going in with a relatively clean slate, aren't we? So we're going to see 2 really strong sides, hopefully, and hopefully we can see the game plan be consistent across the 2 levels, and hopefully the players that play VFL get something out of it, particularly if they're being dropped and they're on the cusp of making AFL. Be harsh on them, judge the basics harshly, but yeah, players like Bins I'll look at. For your mob, Finn McRae showed bits was, Bin's issue was, he ain't getting 30 seniors. That's the thing with McRae. He's someone who rips up the stat sheet at VFL level. He gets 25, 30, kicks a goal, he's a clearance beast, but he can't kick. Ned Long gets 25 and 1 at VFL level, can't kick. You look at that on paper, you go, wow, he's, a couple highlights here of them kicking goals or big clearances, and the AFL fandom from Collingwood fans of these players sort of gets blown out of proportion. And then you're begging for these players to come in based off the numbers you've seen, not the games you've watched at VFL level. So that's something I don't want to be a victim of. I want to make sure that when I'm watching these McRaes, these Ned Longs, these Sullivans, I want to look beyond the touches and the goals they're getting at VFL level. I want to see what their running patterns are like. I want to see what their disposal efficiency is like at VFL. Yeah, Peter, mate, I can't wait for these two blokes at VFL level. I think they're going to bring a lot of bums on seats at VFL. Honestly, I think if Westy wouldn't be too far away either, but he just won't play simply because we do have our big three right now. Our forward line is pretty stacked, which is why I don't think Hazy or Westy will necessarily get a shot right now. McRae, my issue with him was defensively, it was poor at VFL. Interesting. I'll keep an eye on that. And in seniors, you found out back end, he linked up well. Yeah. He played a lot of high half forward, McRae, at AFL level. Hayes will get a shot at some point, I think. Yeah, I think Hayes is definitely more likely than McRae, Andreas. I watched back your stream, by the way, man. It was really good to get some insight on the RCCS and the Gold Coast Collingwood Social Club. I think that was really good, man, to bring them on. They're doing great things in their own little domain, so that was good to see, man. Best way to do it, in my opinion, I have a depth chart. So I'm looking at, say, 5th mid-seniors, then best mid-VFL, and linking the AFL game to how would VFL look with them 13 touches. Fuck me, Pommy. You need to type properly for a Pommy man who has the best analogies and has all the fancy words up his arsenal. You cannot put together a sentence, mate. You're getting lazy, Pommy. Finish your sentence, bro. You make me feel silly. More hope than expectation. Charlie West dominates VFL, third tall forward. I want you to repeat this because this is interesting. I want to understand what you're actually trying to say here. More hope than expectation. Charlie West dominates VFL, third tall forward, freeing up my check. Yeah, he will come in eventually as that third tall forward, but once as he gets that age and experience, I think he's someone who will be our key tall forward for years to come. Like Hayes, if I was watching him, I'm looking how he leads, pressure, aerial contest, find space, etc. 100%. We'll be keeping a close eye on it. I'm going to try to read this again. Have a depth chart. So I'm looking at, say, the 5th midfielder, 5th mid senior. No, I can't. Thanks, bro. It was heaps of fun. No, it was. It was really good to listen to, man. Appreciate it. So, yeah, that's why the VFL just it intrigues me. I'm a sucker for like local sport as well. So the VFL sort of does give you that local feel to go on like a Sunday or a Saturday morning, have a coffee, wear a nice thick jacket. It's foggy. You got the neck scarf on. You got the marshmallows in your cappuccino. That's not me though. All right. I have a depth chart. So let's say 5th mid rotation in the senior game. So then that 5th mid rotation is like a Lockie Sullivan or a Ned Long or a Finlay McRae. Then check the VFL player and link how them stats would or wouldn't work when he has half the touches. Okay. Are there any concerns about West Coast interest in Cameron? Well, there was news recently that suggested that Cameron will or is looking to extend his contract to 2028. So I'm not too sure. Where is DC from? Let's find out. Darcy Cameron. Is he from Melbourne? Let's see. Darcy Cameron. Let's see. North Albany. So he's from He is from Western Australia. Okay. Yeah, well, to me, that's a little bit of a concern, no? Well, how old is he? He's 29, going 30. He could be looking to go home. He might take old mate Bobby Hill back with him. You know? Maybe we'll send DC, Bobby Hill, a first-round draft pick for Harley Reid. What do you reckon? Hold on. Let's put a poll out. Let's find out. I'm intrigued. Is that crazy? Is that crazy to suggest, or nah? We keep Ed Allen. Let's go. I'm gonna put this in a poll. Give me 1 second. View your channel. Start on the bar. All right. Start a poll. DC, Bobby Hill. I think DC, Bobby Hill on a first round pick. That's too much. Let's just say DC, Bobby Hill, and say a second rounder to a certain extent for Harley Reid. You know, a little bit of fun. What do we think about that? Straight swap Darcy and Bobby for Reid. DC in a first round pick for Reid. That is all. Yeah, wow. Harley Reid. We need draft picks. We've got Steen and Smith. Welcome, Harley, says Peter. That's one way to get him down. All right, hold on, Pommy. Let's catch up to Pommy. Hold on a second. All right. Let's play. Player A plays an AFL, has 10 stoppages attended, 13 touches, 2 tackles. And then player B has 33 touches, 8 tackles. Work out how that would look when he's not getting lots of the ball. Okay. So if Sullivan is shadowing guys at stoppage, being extra, I'm looking at McRae's game. Does he lose players at stoppages? What's he doing without the ball? So when you do your ratings, if you think the half forward line is on the line to drop, I'm looking at the VFL guy and I'm looking for his role in AFL regardless of his stat sheet. So skill matching. I understand. I see what you're saying. I like it. Yeah, you wouldn't want to lose if you're Collingwood. You'd want to win. You just want to win. You just want a professional win. You want to be 1-0, get the win column rolling, and that's it. Absolutely not, bro. Hill is too much. DC in the first rounder for Reid. Hill will stay. I mean, they're both from Western Australia, Andrea. So who knows, bro? I'm sure we can't be certain that they're not going to leave. So on the basis that they will leave, as a hypothetical, we live in a world of what ifs at the moment. DC and Bobby Hill for Reid, I don't think that's too much. I think DC, Reid, but clubs don't do straight player swaps anyways. Luke, we're at capacity on the list at the moment. We've got a full list. I think it's 44. We've got something like 36 in the primary, 6 on rookie A and 2 on rookie B or something like that. Too much to each play individually. Maybe that's why we're already asking the AFL about getting an exemption for our 2026 first round pick. But that's for Matt Rowell, not necessarily for Harley Reid, is it? Honestly, if we go to the grand final, they'll both stay. Or do they say, we've won 2 flags, we want a different sort of landscape and we want to go back home and we're from Western Australia? Who knows? I would say Darcy, if I had to guess, I would say Darcy Cameron is more likely to stay than Bobby Hill. Not going to be Nick Dacos' role in AFL. He like he's the main breadwinner in the VFL. So I'm judging his game on the skills he'll use in AFL, ignoring his touches. Yeah. So you're looking at some intangibles because he gets 30 touches in the VFL. He's not going to get that AFL level being surrounded by players like Nick Dacos and Pendlebury and Perryman. So you're looking at running patterns, work rate, positioning, putting screens on for players, stuff like that. I see what you're saying. I love Bobby, but we are stacked. That's the thing, Johnny. Good man. Yanni Coxos. We do have a stacked small forward department. And Reid is a franchise generational player. I genuinely think unfortunately, we don't live in a world where the AFL like doing players for some reason. You'd have to have a pick in there some way or another. But DC and Bobby for Reid, I'd probably throw in like an early second rounder as well if they really want. You look at what our net return would be as well, right, guys? We got DC with like a pick in the 60s. We got Bobby Hill with a pick in the 3rds. So our net return, if we got Harley Reid in exchange for Bobby Hill and Darcy Cameron now, it's an astronomical return. What's wrong with two franchise players? How many premierships would you like to win? Exactly. How do we get Brown Ellis from the twos? Luke, we can't get too excited, can we, Lukey? We've only seen one game from Brownie, old mate Josh Brown from the VFL. He played well, played unreal. But let's see what he can do for the course of a year before we, or at least half a season. Reid's good, but where does that leave you in the ruck? Ilaru Smith is raw, your ruck's raw. Like, ruck's the hardest to find in a conventional draft. So, hypothetically, Steen, say Darcy, Cameron, and Bobby Hill were to go at the end of this year, we'd probably look at like an Oscar Steen who would play. Or somehow we squeeze out an extra year out of Mason Cox, and there you go. So you got someone like Mason Cox and you got Oscar Steen playing together. I think Oscar Steen, he could have a big year in the VFL. He could be ready to take the next step, not to be as a premier ruckman in the AFL, but to fill the gap. I don't think that's going to be a massive issue. I think we could work around that. Alex Condon named in the top 50 prospects for the NBA draft. Well, good for him, but once again, he hasn't played AFL in how many years? We've already got Smith, Steen, DC, Mason Cox. I think we're all right for now. Yeah. I'm sure we could even get a delisted free agent, really, as a ruckman. I like to not be married to an individual player unless their name is Nick Dacos. DC, Bobby Hill, what we got them for and what we can get in exchange for it now would be unreal. Steen and Cox, though, cracking on ball core with Reid, but he's going to get absolutely monstered versus anyone half decent. DC, majorly underrated, one of the best defensive rucks out there. Yeah. Once again, Pom, I just think we could probably cover our blemishes through the delisted free agency. Or if we have to trade for a ruckman to cover our loss in DC, then I'd take that. Yeah. So fuck no to wait, so you'd say no. So Chris, I'm not sure if you've been following, but Darcy Cameron's from Western Australia. He could potentially leave, as too could Bobby Hill. They're both from Western Australia. If they go to West Coast, why wouldn't you ask for Harley Reid? Why wouldn't you? Especially if they want to leave. Yeah, he would be a Category B rookie. By one, but DC Hill and a second round pick is a no. What's everyone saying, by the way, in the poll? Let's check. I haven't checked. Give me 1 second. Okay, so it's yes and no. Yes and no. I think it's not even worth it. Seriously. No, I think it's worth it. I'll stand by that. I will stand by that. I would definitely give up DC and Bobby Hill for Harley Reid. Yeah. Let's be real. If that'd be worse than the Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic trade. What if we gave up Darcy Cameron, Bobby Hill, and a first round draft pick for Harley Reid? Would you accept that? We will probably have to use our second round draft pick for Tom McGuan to match any bid. So would it be Hill, Cameron, and first round pick 26? I think we'd have to, because we're probably going to get a pretty decent, or if we finish high up the ladder this year, we're probably going to have, we've given our first round pick for 2025. So it would probably have to, our first round pick in 2026. I see what you're saying. Yes, that's probably the case. I think we'd be able to maybe even give away 27, not like with 26, but one or the other. Now we've got moving into a new framework where you can trade your first round draft picks 2 years in advance. That's 2025, 26, 27. We've already given away 25. We have 26 and 27. But if we take one of them and use that for a trade, we'd have to go through the AFL. All right. Personally, read they would be looking at a bare minimum Jason Horne-Francis trade, which was heavily compensated by the fact the AFL gave the concessions also in the future. Yeah. Hey, food for thought. Pummy, you've got your show, mate. I'm going to head off, ladies and gents. That was a really good, thought-provoking conversation around Harley Reid. Who knows? Maybe that conversation will extend throughout the year. Who knows? Who knows? Harley Reid coming back to Melbourne, Bobby Hill and DC go back home to Western Australia. Who knows? Guys, thanks everyone for being here. If you've noticed, I've been struggling to talk because I've got Invisalign with like composites in it, so it's quite difficult to talk right now. So I'm getting used to it. So bear with me, guys. But once again, thanks for being with us tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow for Moving the Magnets. Go Pies.